What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to week number 11 here in the NFL. Man, I got a great show put together for you guys today. I got some player props I want to go over with you guys. We're also going to break down the entire Sunday slate and give you guys my favorite plays off of each of those games. So before we dive into that, we got a few things we got to do, guys. We got to jump over there to the Guy Boston Sports website. We need to recap our plays from week number 10. Let's see what we put in then and how that ended up going down. And we had ourselves a decent day as far as units are concerned. We do end up on the day, but we finished 8-8 overall. So a 500 day as far as our picks are concerned. But like I said, we hit on some plus money plays that did put us up on the day. So we still do have a profitable Sunday. Just looks a little uglier than I'd like, man, with all those red X's up there. But couple positives that we can point out here, man. We do cash on the plus money cash out, so we do got to give some money away here again this week. And man, we're going to be shooting that out to Funk O Pop Asylum. So make sure you get with me, Funk O Pop Asylum. That is quite the name right there, man. I'm digging it. But yeah, make sure you hit me up. The contact's going to be down below. You can see it right here. You can hit me up on my Gmail or over there on Instagram. It's also going to be down there in the description of the video as well. So make sure you get with me on that one, man. That way I can get that $20 sent your way. And guys, that's all you got to do here for these plus money cash outs moving forward. All you got to do is comment double up down below. If that plus money cash out play hits, I'm going to be sending $20 out to one of you lucky commenters down below. Now, Kyron Williams also scored 2+ touchdowns, man. We sprinkled on that one at plus 700. So like I said, man, had ourselves a few plus money plays that really helped us out overall on the day. So yeah, the 8-8 didn't look pretty, man. But like I said, we do go up about half a unit on the day. So another green day overall here in the NFL, man. Had a lot of those here to start off the season, man. 10 weeks, right? 8 of those 10 weeks we have been profitable. We're sitting at 56, 38, and 2 for our overall record. We are up 9.64 units, man. So let's look to keep that positivity rolling. Let's keep the good times and the winning rolling right here into week number 11. Guys, nothing else to do but to smash that like button down there. Hit subscribe if you have not already. Man, let's go ahead and jump into the mix. We got to jump over there to Outlier. We got to go ahead and pull up the prop playbook. We need to go over our favorite props for week number 11. So let's go ahead and jump over to Outlier. Let's check out that first play that I'm looking at. Josh Jacobs of the Packers. This one's kicking off at 1 p.m. They are in New York taking on the Giants. I'm looking at his rushing yards over 79.5. That's sitting at minus 128 right now over there at FanDuel. I was able to get that earlier in the week at minus 115, but that minus 128 is still not bad. I'm seeing a Fanatics right here too, minus 125. So a good price overall here still for Josh Jacobs to get 80 rushing yards. Now on the season, only hitting this at a 44% rate, 4 out of the 9 games he's played so far. Came close last week at 74 against that tough Philadelphia Eagles defense, and he went up and over that mark the prior week before that. Now, Trey, we're looking at this at a 44% hit rate. Why do we like this so much? Well, you scroll on over, look at that Giants defense. That is the biggest reason why, right? Giving up 152 yards rushing on the ground. Second to last in the NFL. If we scroll on down over here, check out those rush attempt shares for Green Bay. We can see that Jacobs is getting the bulk of the carries, right? 63% of the carries are going his way. So we like to see that in terms of this prop here. Then we can jump over to the dash and check out a few more things here. Let's look at Green Bay and their offensive rushing schemes, right? You see, they're pretty balanced, man, as far as inside zone, outside zone, man duo. They're running, a pretty balanced attack over there as far as that is concerned. New York is not stopping any of it, right? They're sitting at 20th in terms of yards per carry allowed to that inside zone. 30th to the outside zone, dead last for man duo. We scroll on over here, we can look at this defense for the Giants, right? They're sitting at second to last for rushing yards per game, like we said, second to last for rushing yards per carry as well. And the Packers have had their struggles running the ball this year, man. I can't hold you there whatsoever. But with Jacobs back there, that is one of the best running backs in the NFL going up against a very, very atrocious run defense, man. I like our chances here for him to have a good game and break out and get up and above that mark. Like he's done a handful of times this season. I think he has one of those games here this week. So it's going to be my first play. Josh Jacobs over 79.5 rushing yards. Next up, I'm going to be looking in the Bengals and Steelers game. 1 p.m. kickoff time for that one. Jamar Chase's receiving yards over 89.5. You see him on the season, man, hitting this at a 67% rate, including 5 weeks in a row now. We can look at him specifically since Flacco came into the mix, man, right here against the Packers, and we can see that he's been up and over that mark. Like I said, 4 straight times now with Joe. We can see that reception and target range for him as well, man, just skyrocketing, right, with Flacco under center. He's had a couple games there, 23 and 19, including against Pittsburgh, that 23 targeted game right there where he pulled in 16 of those receptions. So definitely love that, man. And head-to-head, the Steelers have just had a ton of issues with this receiving core for Cincinnati, man. 161 in the last time out, 96 last season, and then 86 just going just underneath this mark, right? Averaging 114 receiving yards per game in the last 3 games against this Pittsburgh Steeler defense. We can see this insight from Outlier as well. He's exceeded 94 and a half receiving yards in 5 straight games when playing against bottom 10 defenses for receiving yards allowed. He's averaging 142 receiving yards in those games, a 100% hit rate over those last 5 games versus those bottom 10 defenses. Guys, like I said, that is to get up and over 94 and a half receiving yards. Man, we're only looking at Chase to get up and over 89 and a half. So I definitely love this, man. Think that we see him have a great game here against this Pittsburgh defense, who has just been horrible in the secondary, right? Dead last in terms of receiving yards allowed per game, dead last in terms of receiving yards allowed to that wide receiver position, giving up almost 200 yards per game. So I think this is a good place to start here in this game. Jamar Chase's receiving yards over 89 and a half. We're sitting at minus 125 over there at Fanatics. That's where I went ahead and put that one in at. Now, I also like looking at T. Higgins in this one, man. Both of these receivers they've had a ton of success against the Steelers defense over the last few years specifically. I mean, that carried into this season as well. T coming off a big game against Chicago, and same thing with him, man. This is when Flacco came into the mix, and you can see 3 out of the 4 games since Flacco has been under center, T has gone up and over his receiving mark here, this 56 and a half yards mark that we're sitting at, right? With only 1 game against the Jets where he did not hit that mark. Now, we can see head-to-head as well. Like I said, man, Pittsburgh has a ton of troubles with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. 2 out of the last 3 games, he's gone up and over the mark as well, averaging 72 receiving yards per game against this defense. So all the same things, it's nothing changes, right? The defense is horrible in terms of receiving yards allowed. They're horrible in terms of receiving yards allowed to that wide receiver position. We did just talk about that with Jamar Chase. So over 56 and a half receiving yards is where I'm looking at this one. Minus 110 over there at BetMGM. You can see there's some value there, man. The only other place we're finding that is Hard Rock, and they got it sitting at minus 130. That's going to wrap it up for the player prop portion of today's show, guys. It's time to dive into our quick hits. It's where we break down each of the games on the Sunday slate, give my favorite play off of each of those, and a quick little breakdown and analysis of each game. So let's go ahead and get right into the mix. 9:30 a.m. tip-off time for our first ever game, going to be played in Madrid. Looking at the Washington Commanders taking on the Miami Dolphins. And Washington, they're going to come into this one pretty hard by the injury bug, right? They're down their starting quarterback now, Jaden Daniels, and number 1 receiver, Terry McLaurin, as well. They have failed to cover and have lost outright in 5 straight games now. While the Dolphins, man, they've won 2 of their last 3. They've covered in 5 of their last 8. So starting to rally for their head coach, right, who was on the hottest of hot seats. Looking at the side, man, it definitely gets a little trickier when we start to dive into things looking at this game, man, because Washington, for all their struggles, they have been able to generate pressure at the 6th highest frequency this season. And Tua definitely has his issues when facing pressure. We see his DVOA, completion percentage, and EPA all drop significantly, while his interception percentage does rise. Miami has found more success on the ground through the air as of late as well, man. 19th for passing yards per game over their last 3, 10th for rushing yards per game, and 9th for rushing yards per carry in that same time span. And look, man, this Commanders defense has struggled a ton, but Miami runs out of the inside zone at the 2nd highest rate in the NFL. Washington is 8th in terms of yards per carry allowed from inside zone runs. The Dolphins are 8th in terms of outside zone runs, and that's one of the many areas where we do see those Commanders' defensive struggles. They're just 28th for yards per carry to outside zone runs. Washington has been pretty bad offensively as well, man, but they have had some success on the ground. 7th for rushing yards per game, 6th for rushing yards per carry. But over their last 3 games, we've seen these numbers drop all the way down to 26th and 29th, respectively. Miami is also 6th DVOA defending against the run this year. They're 11th for rushing yards per game and 9th for rushing yards per carry on the ground over their last 3 games. So most everything here is pointing towards the Dolphins. And while they might not run away with this one, man, covering 2.5 points here does seem doable. But when we factor in how poorly the Dolphins have played overseas in their franchise history, and the fact that they've gone just 1-4 so far in international play, the fact that, despite the recent surge, they are still a 3-7 football team. I'd lean Miami on the side, man, but I think that I would look at the total here before I laid points with the Dolphins. Now, we've seen 4 of the last 5 between these two hit under, including the last 2 straight for Miami. And I really think that their defense comes to play here in this one, man, and holds Washington, but I don't think that we see fireworks from this Dolphins offense here either necessarily. So If the Commanders can get pressure on Tua and be disruptive in the run game, I like our odds of hitting an under here in this one, man, and seeing a low-scoring affair here. As we tend to often in these international games anyways, as it is. So give me an under in this one. I think that total sitting up pretty high, too, if I'm looking at it. 47.5, man. I definitely like an under looking at this game here to start us off. That'll move us into our 1 p.m. games. Going to be looking at the Carolina Panthers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Carolina, man, they are definitely starting to slide some after some impressive weeks earlier in the year. They're coming into this one having lost 2 of their last 3. That includes a tough loss at home to the lowly Saints, and that's a game that they could only muster 7 points offensively. The Falcons have lost 4 straight coming into this one, but they have played the Colts and the Patriots pretty close on the road in back-to-back weeks now heading into this game. These two they met earlier in the year, and the Panthers shut Atlanta out, man, 30-0, and they've won and covered in 3 of the last 4 head-to-head meetings between these two. Falcons feel like they're coming in playing better ball overall now, however, man, and this matchup seems to favor them end of the day. Now, Penix's numbers look way better across the board when looking at him passing versus zone coverage compared to man. The Panthers play zone at the 5th highest rate in the league, man at the 6th lowest. Falcons run from the outside zone at the highest frequency in the NFL. Carolina, they are just 17th in terms of yards allowed per carry from outside zone runs. And looking at the Panthers, Bryce Young passes better against zone coverage as well, but the Falcons, they're running zone at the 22nd highest rate, man at the 11th highest. So he's going to see a lot more man than zone here. He struggles with pressure as well, man. Atlanta's blitzing at the 2nd highest rate. They're getting pressure on the quarterback at the 7th highest rate in the NFL. So it looks like a better matchup for Penix than Young overall here in this one. Carolina, they have fared better on the ground over the year, and that's great going against this Atlanta defense that is 2nd DVOA defending the pass, but Panthers have seen their numbers dip from 8th in terms of rushing yards per game on the year to 19th over their last 3. So I think I'd lean with Atlanta here in this one, but I'm not sure that I like it really at that 3.5. I'd probably look to buy a point here in this divisional rivalry game, right? Get Atlanta laying 2.5 points instead, and keep it within a field goal, man. Those 3.5 points get real tricky sometimes. You see Atlanta win by 3 points and just be salty, right? So I think if I play this one, I'll probably take the Falcons laying 2.5. The next up, got a good game here, man. Looking at Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers taking on the Buffalo Bills. And it's wild, man, how similar of a position these two teams are in right now. Both teams are battling injuries, and both are they're really desperate for a win, man. Which is wild to say, right? Considering how these seasons started off for these teams. Tampa has dropped 2 of their last 3 now. Buffalo has dropped 3 of their last 5. Each of these teams sit at 6-4. And they're losing place in their respective conferences, man. Like after opening up the year so strongly, they could potentially miss the playoffs. And this is absurd, looking at it, right? The loser of this game here is going to find themselves in a position sitting at 6-5 and really at that point in a must-win situation going into the next week. And like I said, just wild when you consider the talent that each of these teams have and the fire that they came out with at the beginning of the season. So I feel like I'm under happy so far this week, but I could see some struggles offensively, right? Looking at both of these units, man. Tampa Bay has really struggled over their last 3 games offensively. 21st for passing yards per game. They're 28th for rushing yards. I'm putting up just 18 points per game. That's good for only 26 in the NFL. With both Godwin and Bucky Irvin doubtful in this one, man, those struggles could definitely continue here on the road against the Bills. Buffalo has certainly fared better offensively as they have struggled on the defensive side of things way more, but they're getting pressure on the quarterback at the 2nd highest rate, man, and Baker has shown a tendency to struggle when under pressure, so I don't like that for the Bucks either. The Bills are 11th DVOA in the passing game, man, 2nd in the run, and 6th overall offensively, but Tampa brings a defense in that's sitting at 6th defending the pass DVOA, 4th against the run, and they're sitting at 7th overall. So for whatever reason, man, they've also played better defensively on the road this year, jumping from 21st to 8th in terms of red zone touchdown percentage and from 14th to 7th in terms of points allowed. So I think a lot of people are going to be expecting a shootout here, man, but I see this one as a tight, lower scoring game. So I'll be leaning under. For the end of the day, I would be leaning with Tampa too, man. I do think this is going to be a closer game. So giving them 5.5 points here seems like a lot. So it's going to be a lean towards a full game under and a lean towards Tampa Bay with the points here as well. The next up, looking at the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is another one, man, where we got 2 teams that are just trending in complete opposite directions, right? We got the Chargers who just have quietly won 3 in a row now, 4 of their last 5, and they come into this one sitting at 7-3. And they sit inside the top 10 for both passing and rushing yards per game. They're first in terms of time of possession, and they're playing well on the other side of the ball also, man. Especially over these last 3 games, we see them sitting at first in terms of passing and rushing yards allowed per game. They're second in terms of points allowed per game. So playing some good ball over there in Los Angeles. Like I said, pretty quietly, right? The Chargers just kind of they're just there, man, and nobody's really talking about them. They're playing a ton of zone, and Trevor Lawrence has definitely fared better versus zone over man coverage, but this Jacksonville offense is really struggling, man. It's sitting at 24th DVOA in the passing game on the year. They're 20th for passing yards per game. They're 21st for rushing yards per game, and just 26th in terms of red zone touchdown percentage over their last 3 games. And defensively, they've been a mess, man. They're decent defending the run, right? But they're giving up the fifth most yards through the air on the year and the third most points per game over their last 3 contests. After seeing multiple collapse from this Jaguars team, man, this year, coupled with the numbers that we just went over, I got to be leaning with the Chargers here on the side. Give me the Los Angeles Chargers laying 2.5 on the road. All right, guys, next up, I got the Chicago Bears taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Chicago, they're coming into this one rolling, man. Winners of 6 of their last 7 games. And while the defense does slightly concern me moving forward, right? Offensively, this is a really, really tough unit, man. And obviously, Coach Ben Johnson and all the creativity that he brings to the table just boosts this team to even higher heights on that side of the ball. The Vikings, meanwhile, they've lost 3 of their last 4. They're struggling on both sides of the ball, man, offensively and defensively. If you look at them in their last 3 games, Minnesota is 17th for passing yards allowed per game. They're 24th for rushing yards allowed and just 22nd in terms of points given up per game. Offensively, staying in those last 3 games, they're just 28th for passing yards. They're 25th for rushing yards per game, and they're scoring just over 18 points per game. That is only 25th in the league. Chicago, meanwhile, 7th for points per game this year, 11th in terms of passing yards per game, 4th over their last 3 games, and they're sitting at 2nd on the year as far as rushing yards per game, 1st in their last 3. So obviously, Minnesota's had a good defense this season, man, specifically against the run, but they have had their struggles as of late, like mentioned before. And looking at the Bears, they run out of the outside zone scheme the most in the running game, doing so at the 3rd highest rate in the league. Minnesota sitting at just 22nd in terms of yards per carry allowed from outside zone runs. So, guys, I think this one right here is going to be my dog of the week, but also my plus money cash out. I like Chicago here in this divisional matchup, man. These two, they met in week 1. The Vikings pulled out a close 3-point win in Chicago. So, give me the Bears here, man. Like I said, as my dog of the week and as the plus money cash out, guys, I want them on the money line here for plus money. It's a revenge spot here as well, man. They're coming in playing the better ball of the 2 teams here. So, give me the Bears, money line. That's our plus money cash out, guys. Make sure you comment double up down below. That's how you enter into this contest. And if the Bears pull this one out for us, man, one lucky commenter down below is going to win $20. I'm going to send that right out your way. So make sure you comment double up down below to enter into the contest. And go Bears. And next up, looking at the Green Bay Packers taking on the New York Giants. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this game. Looking at the side, looking at the total. Laying 7.5 with Green Bay after back-to-back lackluster performances. I saw them put up just 13 points and then 7 points last week. It isn't ideal in my opinion. But who's going to be at quarterback for New York, man? After rookie Jackson Dart left out last week with a concussion, lots of question marks surrounding this Giants team that sits at just 2-8, and they have now dropped 4 in a row. Ultimately, man, this feels like a spot that Green Bay should bounce back, but man, I don't know. The run game is the thing that gives me confidence going up against this Giants defense that sits dead last DVOA defending the run, second to last in terms of rushing yards and rushing yards per carry allowed per game. I like Josh Jacobs to have a big game in this one, man. That's what we talked about earlier. We discussed that in my look for player props, but yeah, I think that's my favorite play in this game, man. I'd lean Packers on the side. I'm just not sure that I could pull the trigger there, man. Like I said, laying 7.5 with them. I need to see more from the Packers, right? I need to see more, man. 13 points and 7 points in the last 2 weeks. I'm not ready to lay a touchdown with you, but I'm not ready to back the Giants either. So it's going to be a lean towards the Packers. But like I said, favorite play of this game, Josh Jacobs over 79.5 rushing yards. That's going to bring me into the next one, man. Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the hated rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. It's going to be a good game. Going to be a good game, man. After a promising 4-1 start, Pittsburgh has since dropped 3 of their last 4. All right, that includes a Thursday night loss to these Bengals here, but Cincinnati has had its share of just low moments since that big win themselves, man, failing to close out in 2 straight weeks after the offense put them in position to win each of those games, both of them at home, might I add, right? Games in which they scored 38 points and 42 points, respectively. A game in which they scored 15 points in less than a minute to erase a 14-point deficit. This defense is just that atrocious, man. Historically bad. They can't tackle, the most basic and top priority of playing defense. They can't tackle at all. So that's an issue, man. And in the open field and one-on-one moments, they just can't tackle. Just whenever, honestly. So The stats over these last 3 games, it tells the tale, right? They're first for points scored per game at just under 38 points per game, first for passing yards per game. They're third in terms of rushing yards per carry, even, right? And the run game has been the question mark offensively for the Bengals. They've been pretty clean with the football as well. Ninth for turnover rate. Defensively, they sit at 29th for passing yards allowed per game, dead last for both rushing yards per carry and overall rushing yards allowed per game, dead last for points given up per game as well. And a big issue defensively, one of the biggest issues is the lack of pressure, man. They're blitzing at the lowest frequency. They're getting pressure on the quarterback at the 7th lowest rate across the NFL. If you remember that head-to-head between these two in that Thursday night matchup, man, there were plenty of moments that Aaron Rodgers had enough time in the pocket to just pull out a lawn chair, kick his feet up, take a nap, and just sit back and wait for his receivers to get open. And then when they did, quick strike down the field, man, right? This secondary is rough, man. And when you can't get any pressure on the quarterback, they're not good enough to hold up in the back. So a lot of issues defensively, man. But the thing is, though, the Steelers have really been struggling themselves, right? Only 20 points per game over their last 3, and just middle of the pack, 16th in that regard on the year. They're averaging less than 200 passing yards a game this season. That's good for just 23rd. They sit at 3rd from last on the year, 2nd from last in their last 3, and dead last at home when looking at them in terms of rushing yards per game. But even still, this should be a game in which they can find more success on the ground than usual. But defensively, I do think the Steelers team is going to have their hands full, man. We talked about it with both those props, right? Looking at Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, their receiving yards. They should be able to slow Chase Brown in this run game down from the recent upswing that we've seen in that department to some degree, right? But as far as Flacco and this passing attack is concerned, man, I'm not sure I'd put my money on this Pittsburgh secondary to have any kind of success here, man, because we have not seen that so far, right? They've struggled over the years containing both Chase and Higgins, and for as good as he is, man, Jalen Ramsey was brought in for just that reason. Boy, I'd be lying to you if I told you that as a Bengals fan, I don't love seeing, both Higgins and Chase just torch Jalen every single time they face him, whether it's been with the Rams, the Dolphins, and now the Steelers. Definitely love to see it, man. I wish it would translate to some more wins, but definitely nice to see still, man. That Pittsburgh defense is 3rd from last for passing yards allowed over their last 3, dead last on the year. Flacco put up 342 yards with 3 touchdowns and no picks on them in their Thursday night meeting. He's followed that up with 693 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 picks over the last 2 games since then. This game just holds so much weight, man. That's the thing with this one. It holds so much weight in this division right now, man. If the Bengals pulled out those wins, in the last 2 weeks instead of collapsing, think about how different this game would feel right here. Both of these teams would be 5-4 with the Bengals holding the tiebreaker for the lead in the division and looking to create space for Pittsburgh as well with a win, man. But instead, they're 3-6, fighting to stay in the hunt. But they had a big, huge boost of momentum this week, man, when Joe Burrow stepped on that podium and basically said without saying, go win these next 2 games, and I'll see you guys in Baltimore for Thanksgiving night, right? So those of you outside of Cincinnati may not understand the gravity of which Burrow's words mean to this team, these players, man, this city as a whole, right? It's the same way I felt as a Laker fan growing up and watching Kobe. If he's on the court, and we're always in it, man, we got a chance as long as Kobe's out there. It's the same thing with Burrow, man. He has that effect for the Bengals. I think the looming possibility of his return could be the thing that finally ignites this team and pushes them through in those closing moments to where they can finally get a stop, right? Something they have drastically struggled and failed with multiple times, not just this year, but over the last couple years, man. But Zach Taylor and this coaching staff, for whatever reason, man, they do come alive in the second half of the season, right? Those post buys and then moving forward. They do this every year, man. Slow starts and then in Cincinnati, and then they go on a run and they just do enough for the front office to justify making no changes, right? So honestly, man, Pittsburgh has become the opposite over the years, right? Fast starts and then slow finishes. So I think we get a classic Steelers-Bengals game here, guys, man. I think Pittsburgh's going to jump out to a lead early, right? Maybe a 10-0 lead or so. Then watch Cincinnati battle back and make it close as we head into the fourth quarter. It's going to become one of those back-and-forth games like these always do between these two that's ended up decided by simply who gets the ball last, right? I think it's close. I think a field goal separates the winner here. So all in all, looking at this one, man, 5.5 points is a lot of points. I'm going to lean with the Bengals here, man, catching those 5.5 points. Because, like I said, I think field goal decides it either way. I see a path for them winning outright, man, and I'd love to get behind my hometown guys, right? But until I see them close out, man, I am not going to put my money on them. I'm going to put my money on them keeping it close. So that's where we're at here. Bengals plus 5.5. Next up, looking at the Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans. Now, Houston, they're fresh off of a huge comeback victory in Week 10, man. That saw them erase a 19-point deficit with a 26-0 fourth quarter and taking the dub over Jacksonville. Texans, they started the year 0-3. They have since gone 4-2 over their last 6 weeks. And over the course of the year, man, their defense has continued to step up. And they've begun to look like one of, if not the top unit across all of football. 29 points last week to Jacksonville, sure, but on the year, first overall for points allowed per game, fourth for passing yards allowed, second for rushing, their first DVOA defending the pass, ninth DVOA against the run, and first for total defensive DVOA. Then we have Tennessee, man, dead last for total offensive DVOA. They're second from last passing DVOA and third from last for rushing. They're only putting up 14 points per game this year on the whole season. That's dead last in the NFL. 14 points per game. Horrible, man. Tennessee, they run from an inside zone at the fourth highest frequency in the league. Houston has been excellent defending this scheme, man. Sixth in terms of rushing yards allowed per carry against inside zone runs. So 7 points feels like a lot to lay with this Texans team. And maybe we look at a Titans team total under here instead, but we do got to consider that Houston shut out this Tennessee team 26-0 back in week 4. So it's going to be a lean towards the Texans here with lean towards the under as well for me, man. Maybe a Titans team total under, like we said. That is going to take me into the 4 p.m. games. We got the 49ers taking on the Cardinals. Guys, I like the dog in this one as well, man. Arizona's dropped 6 of 7 after a 2-0 start to the season, but they're showing some signs of life with Jacoby Brissett now starting under center. Despite the losses, the Cardinals have covered in 3 of their last 4 games. San Francisco, meanwhile, they've been alternating wins with losses beginning back in week 3 after starting the year 3-0 themselves. They've since gone 3-4. They've been bit hard by the injury bug, man, especially on the defensive side of things, but all around really as well, man. Playmakers are either out or banged up looking at the Niners as well heading into this one. Arizona, they sneakily bring in a pretty good defense into this game, man. 10th for total defensive DVOA, and over their last 3, they're sitting at a respectable 12th in terms of passing yards allowed. At home this season, they've been pretty good against the run as well. Ninth for both rushing yards allowed per carry and overall rushing yards per game. The Niners have seen their defensive struggles this year, man, as they battle through the injuries, right? 25th DVOA defending the pass, 22nd DVOA defending the run, and 26 overall for total defensive DVOA. So give me the Cardinals on the money line here, man. I like the dog here, like I said, man. Give me the Cardinals. The next up, got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be another really good game, man. We got 2 7-2 teams in the NFC West facing off here with a chance for first place, not only in the division on the line, but in the conference as well. These two, they've been nothing short of impressive this season, man, to open up this year. Seattle's won 4 in a row coming into this game. They've gone 4-0 on the road so far. The Rams also bring a 4-game winning streak into this one, man, and they've gone 3-1 at home this year so far. Both have been covering machines as well, right? Each team going 7-2 against the spread. Seattle has a per game average point differential right now of 15.5 points per game over their 4-game winning streak. The Rams are coming in at 20.5 points per game over their 4-game winning streak. So, like I said, man, they're both looking elite on each side of the ball, right? They're both playing very, very stellar football right now. Seattle sitting at 4th for total offensive DVOA, 3rd defensively, while the Rams are checking in at 6th defensively DVOA, 2nd offensively. Looking at this one in terms of DVOA, man, these are the 2 best teams in the NFL coming into week 11, right? Rams sitting at 2nd, Seahawks sitting at 1st overall. They're really 2 good defenses, man, end of the day, right? Seattle sitting at 5th DVOA against the pass, 2nd DVOA defending the run, but over their last 5, they've dropped from a season ranking of 3rd in terms of rushing yards allowed per game to just 15th. So we do got to keep that in mind. They are 19th on the year for passing yards allowed, and for as good as this defense is, they do play a lot of zone, doing so at the 7th highest rate. We've seen Matt Stafford play a lot better overall against zone coverage than man coverage. The running game really hasn't been consistent in Seattle as it has been in LA. Also, looking at these 2 teams, with the Seahawks coming in at 21st DVOA in the run game, Rams sitting at 3rd in that regard behind the strong play of Kyren Williams. I trust the Super Bowl champion and veteran Matt Stafford in the middle of an MVP season, man, more than I do that of Sam Darnold, who's having a good season in his own right. Don't get me wrong. But I also trust this Rams run game more, and I also trust their defense to get the critical stops in this one, and what should be a tightly contested game going back and forth. So give me the Rams here at home. I took the Rams on the money line, man. I got it at minus 154. I didn't want to play around with the points in this one because, like I said, I do think it's going to be tight. I'm seeing that it's getting more and more juice as we speak, though, sitting at minus 167 now. So if I can get the Rams at like a minus 2.5 for a good price, I'd probably take that. I don't know if I want to lay too many points here in this one, man. With the potential of this one being a really, really tight contest. And next up, looking at the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cleveland Browns. Now, look, man, I do understand that Cleveland has played Baltimore tough at times over the last few years. They pulled off a few upsets even, right? But it's not going to happen this time around, right? Not in my opinion. Baltimore's starting to roll, man, just starting to roll, and they see their opportunity in front of them to keep rattling off wins and put themselves in position to win this division. And the AFC is wide open this year at that, right? So, Baltimore wins this division, they get into the playoffs, man. They got all the potential to make all the same kind of noise that, many of us predicted them to make at the beginning of the season heading into this before injury started to set in. They have won and covered double-digit spreads now in each of the last two head-to-heads with the Browns. I've seen them winning this one by double digits as well, man. I don't think Cleveland holds a chance against this Baltimore team. Now, look, they're still giving up a ton of yards through the air, right? The Ravens are, but are we really worried about this Browns air attack, right? With their rookie quarterback coming into play, who has really not been that great over the last few weeks specifically. The Ravens have tightened up defending the run over the last three games as well, man, sitting at 13th for rushing yards per game. But as a whole, this defense has just shown a lot of improvement in general, right? Fourth for red zone touchdown percentage, third for points allowed, and leading the NFL in turnover rate over their last three games. I mean, you look at them just over their first five games this season. Baltimore allowed an NFL worst 35.4 points per game, a 74 total QBR, forcing just two turnovers in the process of those five games. But looking at them over their last four, they've allowed only 14.5 points per game. That total QBR is sitting at 37, and they have forced eight turnovers. So, look, that Browns defense is tough, man, and even more dominant when playing at home, right? They're first for points allowed, first for rushing yards and passing yards allowed when playing at home, but I just can't see a path for them here in this one, man, against a Ravens team that is on a mission to right the ship and has all the momentum heading into Week 11. My gut says Ravens by 10 plus in this one, man. Give me Baltimore here on the side. Next up, going to be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos. The home team has won each of the last five head-to-heads between these two, and we are in Denver for this one. We've seen four straight unders as well when these two have faced off. Despite some shaky quarterback play, man, Denver's defense has led them to 7 wins in a row now. They sit at 8-2 on the year. They are in a three-way tie for first place in the AFC. The Chiefs, they've had some good moments, but they come into this one off of a bye week. They're sitting at just 5-4. But you got to keep in mind, man, Coach Andy Reid is 22-4 all time coming off of a bye. He is 9-3 during his time with Kansas City. Mahomes is also an impressive 13-1 versus the Broncos all time. So if you're in the trends, man, all things point towards Kansas City, but I just don't know if it's that easy this time around, man. This Chiefs defense is middling at 14th for total defensive DVOA. But we do need to keep in mind that they have been playing significantly better over their last 3 weeks. Third for rushing yards allowed per game, second for rushing yards allowed per carry, ninth in terms of passing yards allowed per game as well. They're sitting at first for points allowed over those 3 games, giving up just 11 points per game on average. This includes games against the lowly Raiders and Commanders, though, so we also have to keep that in mind, right? I think the thing that concerns me the most for the Chiefs here is that their offense has really been more one-dimensional this year than in years past, even, and just very reliant on a passing attack. And Mahomes just doing Mahomes types things, which, sure, he's going to do that, but relying on those magical moments week in and week out isn't the greatest recipe for sustained success. I've seen that in Cincinnati and can tell you how that goes. And it's been made evident by their record so far this season as well. The problem for me with the side is that I can't trust Nix enough right now to lead this offense to victory. And that has me thinking above all else that we're going to get a low scoring, sloppy game here for, this matchup. So in this divisional matchup as well. And I mentioned, like I said, between these two head to head, we've seen four straight unders, right? And the Broncos have gone under in 7 of their 10 games played this season. Kansas City has gone under in 6 of their 9 games played this season. So this total sitting at 44.5. Not crazy high, but it's a little higher than I would expect for these two teams in this matchup here. So overall in this game, I like the under more than anything else. That's going to take me into the Sunday night football game, our last game on the Sunday slate, looking at the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, look, man, Philly definitely hasn't looked as complete this season as they have in recent seasons. Yet here they are. They sit at 7-2, right? Still atop a tightly contested NFC. Detroit's coming in at 6-3, having gone 2-2 over their last 4 games. Philly's won 3 straight, but they're going to be on a short week here, coming off of a tough, fighting, low-scoring win over the Green Bay Packers. They've struggled on the ground, giving up just under 120 rushing yards per game. They sit at 22nd in the league in this regard when playing at home as well, right? With these defensive issues, though, and the struggles that we've seen from Philadelphia this year, especially on the ground, man, it's got me concerned with them. Now they got to match up with the Lions offense that is among the best in the NFL, and they bring a two-headed running back monster on the field, right, in Gibbs and Montgomery. Not too good for a Philadelphia team that's been struggling defending the run, man. Well, with the Lions' fast starts, man, I think I like looking at them early. Guys, that is going to wrap it up for the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you found the content helpful and useful. And if you did, please don't forget to smash that like button for me on your way out. Hit subscribe if you have not already. And guys, that is going to wrap us up for week number 11. I hope you guys all cash out and have yourselves a great Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. And I will see you back next week for week number 12.